And we are live. What's up, everybody? It's your girl. Welcome to China and welcome to my channel. And we are going to test our sound. As you see, we got a special guest here. We're going to let everybody get in. Y'all already know we got to do our favorite countdown song and test the sound. Testing, testing. Let's get into it. All right, party people, as I said before, it's your girl. Welcome to China and welcome to my channel. Today, y'all, we're going to go ahead and get into a couple of things. First being my special guest we have here today. Today, we're going to be talking about Black men versus America. And I had to think of someone in my life who I have met in college, in collegiate. He's very educated and he is a man in a fraternity. And someone who I admire and I called a friend for a very, very long time, Mr. Chris Orange. Chris, go ahead and introduce yourself and let the audience know who you are.
Hey, how's it going? Again, my name is Chris Orange. The brand, as y'all see, Solid 6 Fit, Solid 6 Entertainment. I consider myself a content creator.
You are.
Consider myself a fitness expert.
Again, my name is Chris Orange. The brand, as y'all see, Solid 6 Fit, Solid 6 Entertainment.
I think we're getting some
content creator. Consider myself a fitness expert. Again, my name is Chris Orange. The brand, as y'all see, Solid 6 Fit, Solid 6 Entertainment.
I think we're getting some
content creator.
Okay, Chris, I'm gonna mute you. We're getting some feedback. Sorry about that, y'all. But hopefully we'll get through it. I don't know what's happening here. Make sure you guys leave us a comment if we're still getting feedback, but we'll check on it in a second. Okay, y'all. So Chris is here, and the whole reason why we're doing this is because I had a lot of you guys want to reach out to me and, talk to me kind of about the things that have been going on. For many who do not know, on my channel, I do a lot of commentary. I do a lot of funny things. We talk a lot of shit here, but today we were going to do something that was a little bit more intense and a little bit more important, a lot more important to be exact. So I'm going to go ahead and put a trigger warning here. Of course, it's a trigger warning and a trigger to be Black in America every day. Don't let me get started just yet. But if these things are too intense, we're going to be talking about some broad topics today. We're going to be doing an update about George Floyd. They did their final deliberations today, all of the lawyers and all of the prosecutors in defense, as well as I have a rundown about the new jurors. So that's very, very exciting, you guys. So we're going to hear about all of the jury as well. The next thing we're going to be running down is we're going to be talking about the case of Adam Toledo, which was the young 13-year-old Hispanic Latino man who had his life taken by the police. Next, we're going to be talking about the police sergeant who got into a little small altercation outside of his house where he put his hands on a young Black man. We're going to be talking about that, as well as talking about justice for Daunte Wright. Many of you have seen Daunte Wright had his life taken in the same city as George Floyd about a week and a half ago. So let's go ahead and get into it. So Chris, we're going to go ahead and find our sound. What is it me? I don't know what is happening over here. Why is this happening? Okay, can you hear me, Chris? All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what is happening here. This is so odd. All right, Chris, so I went through the topics. How are you feeling about these? You ready to get into it? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Again, thank you for having me on. Sorry about the technical difficulties at first. I had a web page open. I was actually getting the feedback from us, so I apologize about that. As far as these topics, wow, it's kind of overwhelming. It's a lot. That's how I'm feeling about it right now. Just as me and you talked about earlier, China, I'm a substitute teacher right now. I'm teaching a class for the rest of the semester for 7th graders, and we kind of have to touch on these subjects because it's like, how can you not? This is everyday life now.
So you're saying that you're talking to the kids about these things, and not to give away too much, you're a Chicago native. from Illinois. A lot of things happen there. A lot of beautiful things happen there, but also a lot of crime. A lot of terrible things happen there as well. So, how do you talk to the kids, about these things? Like, obviously, it's something not to be ignored. But I was never in school. I was never 7th, 8th grade having to talk about social justice. We just got Martin Luther King. So, how do you teach them before we even get into that, or how do you talk about it?
It's very difficult because, again, like, we didn't really have to grow up at least worrying about some of this. Now it's just insane. So I think the first thing is creating a safe space for them to let them know, like, okay, your opinions can be heard and they matter. That's the first thing I usually try to do. And then kind of see where all their heads are at. Like, what are they thinking? Are they scared? Do they fear for their lives? Like, that's kind of like the first things I do. And then once we kind of get into that, I usually try to discuss ways to really combat the just the PTSD that they're dealing with, the anxiety they're dealing with, and then try to come up with solutions because they're the youth, so they're the future. Like, if this is going to be fixed, it's going to start with them.
Yeah. So what are their reactions? Like, I feel like sometimes, like when you're a child, I'm like, sometimes you're like happy-go-lucky. Sometimes it's like you feel like, it's you against the world in some aspects, not to be cliche, but how do they like feel about it? Like, what are their reactions?
Well, it honestly depends on the student because I have like a mix of students. So it's not just all like underprivileged students. It's not all just like a like working class, middle class, high class. It's a mix of it all.
It's a mixture of everybody. Yeah.
It kind of depends on the student, but like the ones that are like from underprivileged areas, obviously they're traumatized by it. They're kind of scared because it's like, man, like the people that these things are happening to, they look like me. Then you kind of have like the working class and the middle class. They kind of worry about just we were talking about gun violence because Second Amendment, we were going over that, and it's just like,
my goodness, that's wild to talk about at school.
Yeah, but it's actually something they worry about because schools have been shot up, malls have been shot up, like it's insane. So like.
Yes, and not to interrupt you, and you all in our college, we went to Northern Illinois University on Valentine's Day 10 years ago. I remember for acting, we did like a memorial. We had a school shooting on the 14th. It was like a handful of students, professors, and I remember my teachers in acting school like saying like, "Yo, like they had to like get on lockdown," and this is before the new theater building, and a lot of things are very close to home. The memorial is still there. This happens in a lot of places. Like we've went to a school and have walked past memorial before and have had multiple events like concerning these things. So it's a lot. It was wild to me to see, but I can't imagine of being a kid to be scared because kids are targeted, kids of all colors,
Yeah, so it's heavy, and it's crazy you say that because I actually had to touch on that today. Like the kids always see me wear like NIU gear, and I felt like I couldn't not address it because again, I am from Chicago. I went to NIU, so gun violence, I've seen it directly. I've been affected by it, so I felt I had to bring it up.
Had to. Yeah, exactly. And, it's just bringing awareness to these things. But, in certain circumstances, it's going to be a lot closer to home. These people are going to still have to go to these schools. People are still going to be a part of, these institutions where these things happen. So we have to just bring awareness and, try to knock the fear. But the fear is going to always still be there. But fear sometimes brings awareness. We have a comment. Morgan says, nobody should have to deal with that, whether you're an adult or a child. Exactly. Adults, children, everyone faces it. We especially see it with the gun violence here in America as well. So on that note, you all, we're going to go ahead and get into our first topic. So, Chris, the first thing we're going to go ahead and talk about is the final closing prosecutor's final comments in the George Floyd and Derek Chauvin case. Everyone knows about this case. I'm not going to go into great detail about it, but we had some updates. As you guys know, it's coming to a close and we're about to talk about the jurors. But it was something that was very interesting that I want to share with you, Chris. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So Josh Campbell, who is a reporter, he said the prosecutor's final comments to the jury on the trial of Derek Chauvin. You were told that Mr. Floyd died because his heart was too big, but the truth of the matter is that George Floyd is dead because Chauvin's heart was too small. So that's something that really stuck out to me, Chris, about this deliberation, and I'm going to play it live for everyone to see it live and in effect. But I feel like this really sums up all of the final closeout thoughts of the prosecution. So I'm going to play this for you all, and then we'll talk about it.
Well, here's what I thought then was the largest departure from the evidence. I'll show it to you. You were told, for example, that Mr. Floyd died. That Mr. Floyd died because his heart was too big. You heard that testimony. And now, having seen all the evidence, having heard all the evidence, you know the truth. And the truth of the matter is that the reason George Floyd is dead is because Mr. Chauvin's heart was too small. Well, here's what I thought then was the largest departure from.
Hearing that, thoughts.
Here, the evidence.
What comes to your mind first?
Well, I mean, I feel like it's absolutely true because with the George Floyd situation, just looking at it even anatomically, just looking at the human body, if you're a grown man and you put your knee into another grown man's back and his neck for 10 minutes, what is the outcome? Like, be realistic. What do you think the outcome is going to be? And if you do that and you don't stop and he tells you can't breathe, then something's wrong. That's inhumane. It's evil.
Exactly. And how I really felt about the inhumaneness of it, that's why he was saying his heart was too big. Like, everyone has heard that George Floyd, he struggled with addiction, he struggled with these things. But the correlation is something that was interesting to me was just the passing of DMX. And, it's a lot of, people struggle with addiction. I'm not going to get too much into it, but, a lot of people have sympathy for DMX. Hell, I love DMX. But, where is the sympathy, and where are, if this happened to DMX, this drugs have no face, no name. We sell Lil Nas X mama out here begging for money on the street. It knows no face, no name, no celebrity, no whatever. And, it really just made me think about, people do pick and choose when to have sympathy. Like, we're humans, we do pick and choose when to have empathy. But it was just interesting that was a correlation that they made of him having a small heart, because it was just the act was completely heartless. So that was the deliberations for that today. We have some comments, and then we're going to go ahead and get into the jury rundown, which is interesting because I'm a true crimer for sure. I love a good court case. That's amazing, though. It's sad as it is. You as an educator educating kids on such an important matter. Thank you, Olivia. That's very, very sweet. Chris, exactly. Gotta teach the kids.
For the future.
Agree. Yes, agree. It's evil. Of course it is. It definitely is. So, all right. Sorry, y'all. I have a bunch of screens up. So I want to go ahead and talk about the jurors. So, Chris, I think this is interesting. All of this is a big rundown of all of the jury. Now, how much do you know about court, about juries, jurors? I'd be scraping.
Well, I know you're supposed to have a jury of your peers. That part I do know that.
So that being said, we're going to see who these peers are, because they had to bring some people on and take some people off. So who are the jurors in the Derek Chauvin case? Though the jurors will remain anonymous, here are what we know. A panel of 12 jurors and 2 alternatives have been seated for the trial of Derek Chauvin in the killing of George Floyd. Jury selection was completed Tuesday, March 23rd, after 2 weeks of questioning and the dismissal of 2 previously selected jurors. So you see, they already got some people out. The court determined that the 2 dismissed jurors could not remain, impartial in the city of Minneapolis in its record-setting $27 million settlement with the family of George Floyd. So, if you don't hear this here, said the city of Minneapolis announced its record-setting $25.7 million civil settlement with the family of George Floyd. So they settled with $27 million to give the family of George Floyd. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And when I hear these things about a lot of money and the family getting money, obviously the family, his children, his close kin, obviously, but the person doesn't come back, and it's not like the person is reaping the benefits of getting this money. Is like harsh and weird as that may seem, or kind of like cryptic. It's just kind of like you get this money, it doesn't bring the person back. It's still all this pain, and no money will ever replace it. But it's still like it's just it's not like hitting the lottery. It's not like it's a positive connotation. So I just feel like that would make me feel sad. But how do you feel about the 27 mil? You think that's enough, or what you think?
I mean, just like you said, like no amount of money is going to bring the person back, the individual back. So I feel like it's honestly impossible for me to even give an opinion on like if it's enough or not. But I will say like with that money, they can, and it is not also it's not up to me to decide what they do with that money, but like
Yeah.
then you can really cement Mr. Floyd's legacy. Like his name is gonna last forever with what they can do with that money.
Mm-hmm.
That like that right there is kind of like the sky's the limit. Like
Yeah.
just whatever your imagination can do. So maybe it might be like a center to help people who are struggling with addiction. Because like you said, you touched on addiction very briefly, and it's tough. People get addicted to things because they're in pain. They want to feel happy. They want to feel good. It's not just as simple as, oh, I'm addicted. I want to do drugs. It's just bad. No, it's something deeper going on usually. And to not have sympathy for that and to try to turn that into a reason that a person should die is just, again, also inhumane.
Exactly. Inhumane. Inhumane. That is such a strong word. But the word has been used a lot. Inhumane. Unhuman, like inhumane. Like not even no ounce of human being, no ounce of empathy, anything. We have a couple comments here. We got BB Bean saying, thank you for making this video. Of course, BB Bean. I remember you talking to me about it, so I'm excited we're going to make the video. Morgan says, I wonder how long the jury will take to deliberate. In my opinion, there's no question of clearly what happened and what was caught on tape. Chauvin knew the position Floyd was in, of course. And that's why I'm excited for us to get into who the jury is and, let's really see how diverse they will be. So, and knew what the outcome would be. Watching that defense lawyer make those ridiculous arguments made me sick. So yes, for those who do not know, and Chris, they were still pushing the argument that this would have still already happened. This would have already happened through some miraculous way. Not the 9 minutes and the umpteenth of seconds. Not any of those things. They were still making the same argument, making him seem inhumane, unperson-like, without a soul, and just the same deal. We already know it's the same show that they put on. I feel you. You got defense, you got to do your thing, but it was just no one wanted to kind of hear all that. That's why I left it at what the prosecutor said, because I hope that's where it stays. So here are the jury. Let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, y'all, bring your listening ears. You got your listening ears, Chris, because this is going to be a little bit long. All right?
Ready, let's get it.
Okay.
Who we got?
3 alternatives were officially seated for the jury, but one of the 3 were dismissed once opening statements began on March 29th. In its final form, the jury includes a multi-race woman in her 20s, multi-race woman in her 40s, 2 black men in their 30s, a black man in his 40s, a black woman in her 60s, 4 white women in their 50s, a white woman in her 40s, a white woman in her 20s, a white man in his 30s, and a white man in his 20s. All of these age ranges seem very specific. Do you get what I'm saying? You feel me?
Yeah, they do.
They seem like, I'm going to go through them again. So we'll break it down with the first one. A white man in his 20s. So when I think about a white man in his 20s, I feel like it's hit or miss of whether he can be progressive or liberal or not.
Yeah, it really depends on how. It really depends on how they grew up in their environment. Like from what I've seen from my life experience, that usually what it depends on, and I've seen a lot. So
yeah, it depends on the parents. Your ideas of the world and your political views haven't been deterred enough yet. You ain't got enough dirt on you just yet to really have an opinion. It's going to be other people's. So a white man in his 20s, he's from Minneapolis. He works as a chemist. Because of his profession, he said, I consider myself a pretty logical person. I rely on facts and the logic of what's in front of me. Opinions and facts are important and distinctions for me. He said he genuinely favors the views of Black Lives Matter movement, but added, I think all lives matter equally and that blue lives matter. Message among police advocates is a counter viewpoint that isn't necessary. He said he's not viewed by the bystander video of George Floyd's death. He's visited 38 Chicago, where the area, he said he and his fiance have considered to move to that area. So that's our first guy. So what I got from that was he said him and his fiance thought about moving to the area. So that means he could be a city slicker. That means that he could be a person, but there it's fairly diverse in Minneapolis from what I've heard, even down to like in the city. In the area, you still can get a mixture of white and black people kind of in those areas for the most part. But I think that's interesting that he said that they considered moving not too far from the area. So I feel like that means it can, it's an more urbanized area. So maybe that you could be a little bit more friendly towards blacks. What else sticks out to you while I pull this up? Anything else that stuck out to you about him?
Well, the comment with Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, blue lives matter.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me because here's the thing. They're like the phrases themselves, they just kind of there's like a lot of gray area with them all, in my opinion. But here's the thing. Black Lives Matter, that phrase, that trend, or whatever it is, it started because the Black lives were endangered. Obviously, all lives matter. That's I'm a humanitarian. Like if I classify myself as anything, I'm a humanitarian. I love people.
Of course.
So, all lives matter, like absolutely, duh. But it's like the movement was kind of started to almost belittle the Black Lives Matter movement. And the Blue Lives Matter comment, like, yes, again, it's like an all lives matter, obviously type of thing. Like, yeah, police officers, yeah, their job is dangerous by nature. But just the comment of that kind of makes me a little worried, maybe a little hesitant, because
it was a lot of conflicting opinions, I feel.
Yeah.
In his statement. And for those of you just gotten here, we're going over Derek Chauvin's trial against the death of George Floyd. We're talking about his jury members. If you have just been here, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. I'm on my way to 900 subscribers. Chris, tell them to hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button, show your girl some love.
Please.
We're talking about some real topics tonight. Okay. So that's him. We'll leave him where he is. But he said he's a chemist, so he thinks very logically. So I feel like he's one of those people who looks at straight facts. He very much so strikes me as one of those. But a lot of conflicting opinions in juror number 2. All right. Juror number 9, a multi-race woman in her 20s. All right. She is originally from northern Minnesota. She said she was super excited to receive her jury summons, and she believes it's her civic duty. Oh, so she one of those, okay? She said, oh, bet! I'm ready. Let's get it. She said that she's eager to serve regardless of the case, but especially in Chauvin's trial, given the gravity of it. It's a very important cause, not just for Hennepin County, but nationwide, she says. It's just something everyone's heard about and talked about. No matter what decision, people are still going to talk about it. She said viewing the George Floyd death left her with somewhat negative impression of Chauvin. No one wants to see someone die, she said. The woman also said she sees racial disparity in the justice system. In the connection with the belief, she has added that she agrees somewhat the Minneapolis police officers at times use too much force against black suspects. She considers herself a go with the flow type of person. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm mumbling on my words. I'm trying to get it all out. It's a lot of people. Go with the flow type. She's a niece of a Brainerd police officer. So multicultural woman. She says that she's eager. She seems like she's just one of those who just loves to serve her community. And she just strikes me as I can definitely envision her. She's ready to go. How we feel about her? Well,
it was a couple things that I guess how I'm feeling about this one is she's a little, I don't know, like from what you read, I hope she's not clout chasing, because that's what kind of worried me a little bit. It was like
she's excited no matter what, but the gravity. Oh,
I really hope like she's really focused on the facts of the case and everything that happened, and that an individual lost their life, and that really she even said it. One thing she did say that I agree with, and I hope she like really takes into account, is that the police can be too aggressive with black suspects. Like I hope she knows. Like I hope she keeps that in the front of her mind, I guess. But yeah, I hope it's not cloud chasing, because like from that description, I'm like, don't worry about the magnitude of the case. Worry about getting.
Yeah, she's like, I'm excited, especially this one. Let's go. She seemed like she in there like smiling ready. All right, juror number 19, a white man in his 30s. He works as an auditor and was chosen for the jury after expressing confidence that he could be fair. He served in a jury 5 years ago and was dismissed as an alternative. I was slightly disappointed after hearing the process, he said. I think it's an important part of our society. He said that he saw at least portions of the George Floyd death and had somewhat a negative view of Chauvin because someone passed away. and that he obviously says that's not a positive thing. At the same time, the man continued that he can examine the evidence from a viewpoint of the law before deciding whether or not the defendant is guilty.
Okay.
I don't have an issue with this.
Yeah, not at all. Like,
I think that's I can get there with it.
I think he understands the magnitude of someone lost their life.
Yeah. So I think that's what everyone was touching on. And I have to do nothing but respect him saying that he'll look at it from the law. So we'll see. So that's what I'm saying. Logical thinkers, whatever, still logically in our minds, in my mind, it's the logical answer. But let's see how these logical thinkers will do. All right. So a black man, jury 27, a black man in his 30s, he immigrated to the U.S. 14 years ago and went to school in Nebraska and moved to Minnesota in 2012. He works in information technology and lives with his wife and dog. He speaks multi-languages, French included, and he said he was in the jury pool and it made him surprised and anxious when he found out, and he realizes it's a civic duty. Wow, relating to Floyd's death and thinking it could happen to anybody. It could have been you. He also said, I believe that I will be impartial. He said he believes that people have the right to protest, but at the same time, he realizes that businesses are shut down and damages. His wife is unable to work. He wants to serve his community. It is a service to his community and country.
Okay. So
go ahead.
I'm just trying to soak in everything he said. And the one thing he said that's interesting to me, he got anxiety from being drawn to this case or being selected as a juror. And why I want to touch on that is because I don't want to say relate because I'm not there, but if I was in his position, I feel like I would feel the same way.
Yeah. How could you not feel the same way? I mean, that's like wild. Yeah. And, he's an immigrant as well, but he's a black man. So he's from some black country somewhere. And he's an immigrant. He also said that he doesn't necessarily agree with damaging your own space as a black person, and I can agree with that. I believe in peaceful protesting, and I don't necessarily agree with burning down businesses and things of that nature. And I empathize with him and his wife as well. So I understand those things. I don't think those things I don't think that's a bad choice. I think that that's valid.
And can I interject with that with just 1 second?
Go ahead.
For anyone that is listening, I definitely agree with peaceful protest. But if you're going to riot, why would you riot in your own neighborhoods?
That's the thing. And people push back on that as well. But it was interesting. I was talking to my grandma about that today. It's an issue being, in places of your own homes. And it's right outside your door. So, he might feel impartial to how that's affecting him and his household. And that creates those biases as well of, what is this? Our movements, what are these things doing? And he's still an immigrant. It's still immigrants. We're all black. We all bleed the same blood, but still when you're an immigrant, you're from somewhere else, black from white countries, Hispanic countries, you know what I'm saying? It's still different. You're brought up in America, African Americans, we're all black to the white man, but with that being said, it's still a cultural difference of how we grow up, where we're from, so those things are still different. So that's something that I want to put in there as well. Anything else on this, gentleman?
I think it's good that they have him on the case.
I think that's nice as well. So we have a mixed race woman, we got an immigrant man, and we got a couple white women, I think, too. So let's see. Let me go ahead and back and pull this. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate y'all. We're getting through it, but this is interesting. So I didn't know anything about the jurors until this article came out. Did you, Chris?
I did not. I was trying to read through it earlier. So, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get through it. All right, so let's get into it. 44, white woman in her 50s. Single mother who works at a high executive level of a nonprofit sector focused on healthcare. All right. She took the unusual step of summoning her own attorney to the courthouse. At one point, the judge halted the live video feed and cleared the courtroom of everyone except the trial participants out of unspecified privacy concerns. The woman said the bystander left her with a somewhat negative view of Chauvin, explaining a man died, but I'm not sure that's procedure. Not all police are bad, but the bad behavior police needs to go. At some time, she acknowledged sympathy for Floyd and the officers at the scene that night, saying everyone's lives are changed by this incident and not easy for anyone. She's serving me playing defense a little bit. Nothing she said were too like red flaggy for me. Something that did stick out to me was that she said a man died, and I am not sure that's procedure. Not all police are bad, but all bad behavior, and the police need to go. So I don't think that she's one of these people who fear the police. Obviously, she's like a white woman. She's like in her mid-50s. So I feel like generationally, she's kind of been around for like a minute through a couple decades to kind of see these changes as well. But she's a single mother, so I think they kind of put that in there. But she's also at a high executive at a job. So she's not, she doesn't necessarily serve me low income. She doesn't serve me low class per se. I feel like she's probably more on the better off side.
Yeah, definitely. But and it's like you said though, like nothing that she said was kind of like outrageous or like out of the ordinary. Like I can, for the most part, I can generally agree with everything she said. But I'm not sure that's procedure thing. It kind of worries me because, I mean, kneeling on someone for 10 minutes, like that's definitely not procedure. I think everyone knows that's not procedure.
I feel like some people just play it safe and just be on the fence. Like you'd like, so, and then also people are saying like, I've seen a couple clips and this, I'm like, y'all are in Minneapolis. I don't believe y'all. I think y'all had to see it more than a handful of times, but all right.
Yeah.
Okay. But who am I? I don't live there. All right. Jury 52. A black man in his 30s. All right. He works in banking and coaches youth sports. He says that he's seen the bystanders video of Floyd's arrest and that I don't think Chauvin had any intention of harming anybody, but somebody did die. Let me take that back a second. Is there this man? Yeah. What did he say? He works in banking and coaches youth sports. He said that he's seen the bystanders video proof of Floyd's arrest. And he said, I don't think Chauvin had any intention of harming anybody, but somebody did die. When pressed about assessing Chauvin's intent, because that was very sus, what he said, the man said he could still definitely look at the case from an objective point of view. He also said that he believes discrimination exists well beyond what the news and media reports.
Yeah, I'm not liking him at all, to be honest. Because just like I said earlier, like just even
what did Buddy ass say? What are you saying, friend?
Like just even from an anatomical standpoint, like if you put your knee on someone's neck and back for 10 minutes, how can there not be ill intent behind that?
It was just the knee in general, because it's a lot of other holds. It's a lot of other. I mean, hell, you could have had him in the chokehold. Y'all could have did a bunch of other things and have his face on the ground, the knee on all the things we've already seen. I won't keep going on. But to me, I'm just like, bruh, you serious, man? You serious? But he sparks me one of those out of touchers. Y'all, what you feel about jury number, what's his name? Jury number 52, black man in his 30s. He got to do better. I need to know what y'all feel about that. Hit that thumbs up too. But anything else on him, Chris?
I'm just kind of shocked. Like that comment just threw me for a loop, honestly.
If y'all just got here, we're looking at the jury in the Derek Chauvin case. And some of these jurors are out of control. All right, jury 55. White woman in her 50s. She lives outside of Minneapolis land and works as an executive assistant in a clinical healthcare setting. She says she has viewed the bystanders video, but she wrote in her questionnaire filled out months ago. I couldn't watch it in full because it was too disturbing for me. She pledged that I'm not in the position to change the law. I'm in a position to uphold the law. He's innocent until I can prove otherwise. My first thoughts on her, she just strikes me as just a normal law-abiding older white lady, to be honest. I believe that it was hard for her to watch. I believe that she probably empathized with the situation. But I think she's going to be one of those who will just kind of look at it fair. I didn't have really an issue with anything she said. She didn't really go into detail, and they didn't really push her, though, on whether she thought his intent like the other guy. They didn't really ask her to clarify.
I feel as if when she's in court and she's forced to watch that entire video, I think the decision is going to be easy for her.
For her to actually, yeah. Because if she's going to look at it that way, yeah, then I feel that it's going to be one of those. I think for a lot of people, it's going to be, how much have you seen? I don't think they picked a lot of people who sat and stalked the case and was really watching the case, as actively as a lot of people were. I think they were kind of picking people who are a little bit impartial as well.
Mm-hmm.
So anything else on her?
No, I think, like, again, when she sees the case, when she sees all the facts, I think her decision is going to be easy because honestly, she sounds pretty logical.
Yeah. So that's her. Black man in his 40s. He works as a manager. He says he's been a victim of home burglary in the past, and the police came to help. He believes minorities are often arrested, but disagrees with the concept of defunding law enforcement. Police do a lot. I would trust the police.
So, as a black man myself, that's probably a statement I will never say, and not even a probably.
I'm missing a caveat in here from him. I'm missing like a little asterisk, but parentheses, but in the cases of brutality or, obviously we know if your house breaking, you're going to call the damn police. Like, okay, but we get it. But that has nothing to do with it.
I'll be honest, like I would probably be, if it was me, I would probably even still be hesitant to call the police myself. I'll be honest, if my house got broken into because I have
if you have the piece, then it's different. And like in my household, we have a piece as well. So it's like it's different if you I'm gonna make that's a whole conversation in itself. Yeah. Obviously, you're gonna put the piece first. You'll pick up the pieces after. But that's interesting that you said that because still in my mind, I'm like, well, obviously, okay, if it's a circumstance of that, something that I feel like obviously I didn't do shit, or like I, was out the way, somebody came into my house. But that was interesting that you said that. But I understand.
Because, like, who's to say that they won't think I'm the intruder? Like, honestly. Honestly. Like, I'm about 5'11", 230 pounds, black man.
They've, in some cases, I'm sure it's been the circumstance where they've thought it's been the perpetrator, has been the victim, and all types of shit. So,
yeah, no.
Yeah. So, yeah, Buddy ass. I don't know how I feel about Buddy. Not to try and go on to the young man and not to be biased, but obviously they wouldn't have put me on the case. All right. I'm going to go ahead and race through these. Multi-race woman in her 40s. She's an organizational consultant who helps corporations improve personnel and practices. She's married with a son. She spends a lot of time at hockey ice arenas. She believes police are human but can make mistakes. She relates to people who use drugs. She said, I don't think a lot of people would choose to have an addiction as a part of their life. Asked about the settlement, the woman said it wouldn't impact her. I don't think that declares guilt one way or the other, she said.
Again, I feel like it's kind of playing both sides a little bit.
So, yeah, it's kind of safe, woman in her 40s. She's a mom, but she empathizes with drug use and drug abuse. I feel like people who've had drug addiction and abuse in their families empathize with those circumstances. And she said, I don't declare, they asked about the settlement. Since they've already given the family a settlement, does that mean that's guilty? And she was like, she don't necessarily think that means anything. And I agree, because you already know, no matter how much we feel, we know this right in our hearts, anything can go any way. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Anything on that?
No, I really just feel like she's kind of playing both, not playing both sides. But like you said earlier, like some of the jurors are playing it safe. I feel like she's playing it safe, and she gave her honest opinion on
but people are really like that. So maybe it's not playing it safe. People are really indecisive. Like those people do exist.
And I guess it's just I guess so. But it's just
they do. That's why they pick these people.
Yeah, that's true. I guess that is why they pick these people because honestly,
they don't know. They don't. I'm over here like y'all motherfuckers don't know, but that's why. Literally why.
Yeah.
We're cracking the code. We're on Law and Order, y'all. We understand. We need a thumbs up there. We understand cracking the code here. Like that's why they did it. That's why they did it. All right, I'm gonna push through these. All right, jury number 91, a Black woman in her 60s. She's a grandmother and retired marketing professional, volunteers helping children in need. She started watching the Floyd trial to rest, but stopped after 4 to 5 minutes because it was something that I needed to see. It wasn't something I needed to see. The woman said that she has not formed opinions about anybody in the firm. and was firm in saying the news of the settlement would not affect her. She added, "I am Black and my life matters." So again, Black woman in her 60s, I feel like she just has kind of been there. She understands, she gets it. It seems like she's not really involved necessarily. She's not protesting, but she kind of, I feel like she was with the cause, but she's still going to be kind of like not as involved or out of touch. But she's an older Black woman, so I feel like maybe it wasn't always like that. But again, in between is what she's serving me. What you feel?
I feel as if, again, she's one of those that understands the magnitude of the situation. And partially because of like her opening and closing statement and like her little introduction. So she kind of understands what's going on here. And like you said, she's like, the fact she says she's a grandmother, like she probably has some grandsons, you know,
or Black family members. Obviously, is going to be men, young Black men, old Black men. Black men in general, it literally does not matter what age at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
So, to be honest, jury number 92, white woman in her 40s. She lives in the suburbs and works in the insurance industry like others. She's viewed the bystander video and was aware of the settlement, but said it would not stop her from being fair. The woman wrote in the jury questionnaire months ago that she didn't believe Floyd deserved to die and that the police didn't need to use excessive force. She said, if someone uses drugs, I don't think that there should be ramifications of violence for that. However, she continued, Floyd was not completely innocent. She said the generality of positive views of the police. Oh, I lost my page. Oh, shoot. The generalities. Sorry, you guys. I lost where I was.
But as you find that, I want to kind of touch on like just
go ahead, please.
Yeah, what she said. So I was going to say like this is like my favorite statement so far, and the first half of it definitely was because
I got it.
You said the first part I definitely agree with. I'm sorry, you can go ahead and finish the statement too.
You want me to finish it?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so this is her quote. So white woman, her 40s, lives in the suburbs, works in the insurance industry like others. She viewed the bystander video, but she said the settlement and him getting the money, the family getting the money would not deter her views. The woman wrote in the questionnaire, she said the police should not need to use excessive force, but her quote, new quote, Chris, if someone uses drugs, I don't think that there should be ramifications of violence for that. However, she continued, Floyd was not completely innocent. She said that she had generally positive views of the police and opposes any funding of their departments, but also believes people of other races are treated unfairly by law enforcement.
So here's my thing. Like, again, I agree with like her first part of the statement because she's absolutely right. Drug use does not or shouldn't like, it shouldn't be a reason why someone should be executed. And also what she said, what was the other part of that opening statement she said? Because it was...
So she lives in the suburbs, works in the insurance industry like others. She viewed the bystander video and was aware of the settlement, but said that it did not stop her from being fair. She wrote that the juror questionnaire, she said months ago, she didn't believe that Floyd deserved to die and the police didn't need to use excessive force.
So she actually addresses that excessive force was used and the fact that the drug use shouldn't have anything to do with it. But what I have a problem with is saying that Floyd wasn't exactly innocent all himself. And again, I feel as if like, are we trying to rationalize at some point? Like why does that come in at all? Because of a $20 bill that he might or might not have known that was valid?
I think it plays into the fairness of it all, of still just looking at all aspects, because they're going to have to think about the reasoning of the why, the $20 bill, even though we know in the grand scheme that it doesn't necessarily make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. But if they were not going to be fair and to be impartial, she could not ignore. That's how I took it.
Okay. And I probably agree with about 80% of what she said.
I agree. I think it was close. We got a couple comments, and then we'll get into the rest. You have to remember that Blacks raised in the U.S. can suffer from Stockholm syndrome, resulting in sharing some views of their captors. And I agree with that as well. Again, different areas, different people, different experiences, suburbs. I grew up in the suburbs, and I went to school in the suburbs of my latter years, and I definitely went to school with some Black people, and they'd be like, "You Black, you're Black," even though that's the wrong thing to say. But people definitely, I agree with that. Now saying the captors and all that, I kind of feel bad because I feel like some things are, you love who you love. People can be friends with people of other races. Obviously, like we have other people in our lives. You teach kids of different races. So, we're all inclusive. But how do you feel about that?
I mean, it's absolutely right. I've seen individuals like that. And like in our culture, we'll call them like Uncle Toms, like that. But it exists. And it's sad to see because, I mean, you have the same experience as me for the most part, too. Like, I mean, if you're Black, if you look like me, you're going to have, for the most part, the same experience as me as far as like those things. And it's like, for you to still have that viewpoint, I have a hard time understanding it because all our viewpoints are shaped by our experiences. And the Black experience in America is just a traumatic one, just in general, whether you're Black male or female.
Now, but something that I question is something that was very interesting. It happened to someone who was very close to me. They got called a racial slur, and never in their life have they been called out a racial slur. But I feel like that made the situation real until it happens to you. And does that happen in every Black person's life that they experience getting called out of their name or, blatantly someone disrespecting them because of their race? Do you feel like sometimes that's what can make it real for people too? But I definitely seen in her experience how it made racism issue real.
I feel as if that particular thing doesn't happen to everybody because honestly, it hasn't happened to me.
Me either, not in that way. Like obviously we're Black, you pay differences, all types of the indirectnesses, the having to exceed more above and beyond. The things we have to do is being successful young Black people, obviously, that come with it, but not the blatant disrespect, of being called like an N-word or things like that.
Yeah. It's just, it's the other things that we have to deal with though. And it's all like other little subtle things, like especially at work. I used to work in retail at Verizon, and it was a couple of days. I would say like I worked there for like 2 years, and there was like 3 or 4 really bad days I had dealing around those type of things. Like, and then sometimes it's just straight up ignorance, and then sometimes you can see that it's definitely some just bigotry.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You can just tell by the people, or then you could tell if you get a good service. Usually, I'm sure you give good customer service. I did too. You could just tell they be astounded. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Negro. Oh my God. Wow. A respectful Negro. Let me see. We got one more comment, and then we're going to go ahead and start to get into Adam Toledo. All right, y'all. I appreciate everybody being here. I know this is a long stream, so be there. Bring your drink. Get your smoke. Get whatever you need to get you through. But stay here because we got more to get into. All Blacks do not necessarily understand the ins and outs of U.S. history and how it adversely affects them. Some of these can end up as jurors. How do you feel about that as being an educator?
I mean, it's true because so many, like, I really like what you said there. All Blacks do not necessarily understand the ins and outs of the USA's history. Everything
that's true though.
Is how it is now. It goes back to 400 years ago because all the policies that were enacted then, they were to keep the people in power. And who are the people in power? For the most part, white males. And when those policies and those laws go into effect, that begins to cause people to those laws that don't benefit those other people, like Black men, Black women, other minorities, they begin to think lower of those people. And because they think lower of those people, and because those same laws keep them
being less than, exactly.
Yeah.
It keeps them down.
And then the white men, who are they married to? White women. Who do they have? White kids. Then it's like, okay, they're in positions of power. These other people are in these lower positions. And because they're in the lower positions, people really then buy into it that they're inferior.
Exactly.
And it's a cycle.
That's a great breakdown. That was a chef's kiss for that. That was one right there. That was the one right there. That was it. So especially being just that case, we're going to go ahead and get into the case and talk about Adam Toledo. If everybody's still here, go ahead and put in that thumbs up. For those who do not know, we're going to be talking about the very first case here is the fatal shooting and death of 13-year-old Adam Toledo. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this out. You guys share my screen. But Chris, in specific, Adam Toledo is a Hispanic male. He's from the city of Chicago. They were specifically, even before I share the article, in Little Village, which is a primarily Hispanic area in Chicago. For those of you who don't know, as I said, we went to school in Illinois. I'm from Michigan, from the Detroit area. Chris is from Chicago. So all Midwest, we already are familiar with these areas. But Chris, can you kind of set the stage for us about Little Village, or kind of like what Chicago is kind of like, kind of like over there in that way?
Well, first, Chicago is one of the most diverse cities, I think, in the nation, honestly. And it's crazy because like there's so many, like in the city, there's like little towns and little neighborhoods. Like I'm from L-Town I'm from L-Town. Then there's K-Town, but that's all a part of Austin, but it's primarily Black. Little Village is, again, one of those like little towns or neighborhoods that specifically are majority Latino. Mm-hmm. And usually those areas are honestly underprivileged. And what comes with that is poor funding to the schools. You have like what was it, like a food desert, so things like that. And then you have a lot of crime, you have a lot of drugs in those areas. That's just how it is. Now, Latino communities, what I will say about that, like are in their villages or in their towns, there's a lot of businesses there, like Latino-owned businesses, which I really admire. And that's just kind of to set the stage.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Honestly, like over there, the camaraderie, the food, we over there from the food, everyone definitely knows someone or grew up somewhere near somebody who has a friend. And Chicago is very diverse, I will say. And before we get right into this, Carolyn said she's back home. And my dear Carolyn, Chris, Carolyn's one of my favorite subscribers. From Minnesota. She lives one street from Kim Potter, who shot Daunte. Now we're going to talk about Daunte. That's last on our docket, Carolyn. We're going to talk about it. And I know her house is gated up. We just talked about it, Chris. But we're definitely going to get into that as well. So let me go ahead and share my screen, everybody. And we're going to go ahead and do the breakdown of 13-year-old Daunte. 13-year-old Adam Toledo. All right. So this is from ABC News, what we know about the fatal shooting. I'm going to go ahead and break it down for you all. I'm not going to go ahead and show all of this, but as you guys can see here, they had the video circulating. This happened a little bit ago. The final police shooting of 13-year-old Adam Toledo was captured on a newly released body cam footage. Again, this happened a little bit ago. We just found out because we've seen the body cam footage. Chicago police officer Eric Stillman has been identified as the original case incident report that the officer who fatally shot the teen on March 29th, as I said, this is a little bit ago, about 3 weeks ago, in a Little Village neighborhood, as we said, which is primarily Latino. Toledo's death sparked protest among Chicagoan community, demanding change from the police department, and the mayor, Lori Lightfoot. Lightfoot called the footage excruciating, difficult to watch in a press conference. Your feelings on Miss Lori Lightfoot?
Wow.
Your feelings on Miss Lightfoot? Because everyone has mixed feelings about Miss Lightfoot.
My feelings on Lori Lightfoot are...
She's the mayor of Chicago, you guys. I'm sorry, Chris. Mayor of Chicago. Lori Lightfoot is the mayor of Chicago.
I feel like it's constant disappointment. And I really feel like it's constant disappointment because Lori Lightfoot, she's a Black woman. She's a gay Black woman. Mm-hmm. And you know the struggles we experience as just a black person in America in general. So to see the funding you put into the CPD and not put into the neighborhoods where they really need it, and then you go on a press conference, you go on TV and you cry about it. But if that funding was into these neighborhoods that need it, this is what can prevent these things.
Okay.
Honestly, this is what can prevent these things, not funding for the CPD. This is what prevents these things. Giving kids things to do, keeping kids out of the streets. This is what prevents this.
But as you can see here, This is the part of the video. It's just it's a lot. It's a lot going on like already, and then you see they're gonna stop the video. Obviously, like I'm not gonna keep it like going from here. But he's a child. He has the face of a little boy.
Yeah.
It's the kids. It's the kids for me. It's the kids for me. But I know everyone's been having these these difficulties in understanding what Lori Lightfoot does. What she's about. But she's been doing a lot more harm than good, I will say.
When I broke down the math on like the amount of the funding she got for the city and the amount
please tell us
CPD, it was an insane amount towards the CPD. Like I wanted to say it was probably close to like of that whole budget, maybe 30% going into CPD. And that was like, I think probably close to billions. Maybe if I did the math correct, I don't remember.
Right.
But 30% of that split into like several different like places that money could have went to. 30% of that, it was insanely huge amount.
Insane.
If not more than that.
Wow, that's crazy. Talking about billions. And I've heard about that, but that's what I'm saying. People had issues, so that's why I want to hear your opinion. So now this is the gentleman right here who he was caught with. So Adam Toledo was with a 21-year-old. And from what I've heard was that he was a part of the Latin Kings. That was coming up when I was looking on some of my like topics, and I didn't like really like look at it like too much. Not that matters, but do you think that creates fear in the police, especially being in like primarily like Latino communities, Black communities? I found it right here. Was he a Latin King member? But I think that's definitely, from the outside looking in, that's definitely serving me gang for him to be 13 and with a 21-year-old and for them to have guns on them. But I don't know. What do you think?
So here's the thing. Like I did watch the entire video and I understand everything that was going on. Now, I don't want to say I understand, but I did my knowledge or did my research on everything that was going on before the case, as far as like why the police were called there. It was shots fired, and it was all bang, bang, bang. So even in the video, when they freeze the frame and I guess where I'm going with this is it was bang, bang, bang. And the gun was involved. He threw the gun, but it was all bang, bang, like a real quick play. What I say to this is society, and I feel like the governor and how she funded all this, they failed that kid because he's 13 years old. There's no way a 13-year-old should be out at 2:30 in the morning. There's no reason a 13-year-old should be in possession of a gun, but he was available to do both. And that's the big issue. That's like a 13-year-old lost his life and they were in that situation. And that's the big issue. Society and our government failed. That's the big issue.
Exactly. Check this. So this says right here. So this was an article of Snopes to see if this is real or not. Okay. So this is a fact checker. Okay. Because it was trending and people were saying that he was a part of a gang. Okay. To be a part of the Latin Kings, to be exact. So it gets a breakdown. Origin, April 15th, released body cam footage and a graphic video circulated online, surfaced to rationalize the white officer's actions by calling the 7th grader a member of the American's most violent gang, the Latin Kings. Now, we've all heard of the Latin Kings, okay? All right. Toledo was known in gang circles as Little Homicide or Baby Diablo, wrote Ably Negro, whoever, a prolific spreader of misinformation on social media. And tweets including screenshots that he framed a memorial message. Tributes to deceased armed Adam Toledo by his friends, referred to him by gang names Little Homicide and Baby Diablo. Let's stop here. Thoughts?
Similar thoughts again, like the fact that a 13-year-old is even involved in any of this. And this is common in underprivileged neighborhoods. Honestly, it's common. Like, especially in Black neighborhoods.
The kids be scared. Has anybody ever watched, okay, not to be cliche, anybody ever watched The Chi? Or watch, these kids carry these weapons because they are scared. Okay, fine. He got with somebody older, this, that, and the third. But these men be as messed up. They be mentors to them. They be act as big brothers to them. They be father figures to them. I don't know their background. I don't know what was going on. Obviously, the age correlation is different. But we got to look at what's at hand. I'm sorry.
That's part of the, like, honestly, that's part of gang culture. Like, when your family isn't at home for you, or when your family at home isn't there for you, that's what usually a gang does. Those are your brothers. Though that's your second family, or maybe that's your only family. Sometimes you're kind of forced into that. It's survival of the fittest, you know?
Yeah, and he's young. He at 13 for me. You can't even make your own decisions for real, to be honest.
No, all right, that's a child.
Exactly. So we'll keep it pushing. However, no evidence was found to sustain those claims that Toledo participated in the organization Street Crime or considered himself a member of the Latin Kings or Lil Homicide or Baby Diablo were authentic names for him, and that those monikers related to social media or circle. In fact, the authenticity of the images in Negro's post was unknown, meaning it was impossible. The screenshots did not depict real. So he just made it up, right?
Wow. And the fact that someone would make that up about a 13-year-old to try to, I don't know, like, just justify their death is, again, one of those inhumane things. Like, what was the point of that?
Officers observed two subjects in a nearby alley. One filed on foot, results in armed. So one subject shot and killed second subject. So this is the gun. Trending, it was on Twitter. That night, police arrested Roman on a misdemeanor count of resisting arrest. That's the guy he was with at first. He gave authorities a fake name for the teen and denied knowing who he was. Weeks later, authorities arrested Roman in connection with the unrelated case on felony charges of alleged child endangerment, aggravated unlawful use of a weapon, and reckless discharge of a firearm on March 29th involving Toledo. Was he a part of the Latin Kings? This was very much true. The area of Toledo shooting is a stronghold of the Latin King street gang, a sophisticated drug trafficking operation with fractions across the nation. Also accurate that the Chicago Times reported the city's police department issued a safety alert on April 1st, 3 days after Toledo shooting. They claimed gang members in the area told ranking members to shoot at unmarked police vehicles in retaliation. However, unclear if this was exactly reported from the Latin Kings. Furthermore, Alderman George, who reported the portions of Little Village appeared to inform speculation that the boy alleged crime activity by making the following commitment on April 5th. This young man had nobody. It's sad to say that this young man, and I've heard rumors, nobody could help him except a gang. Nobody could claim him as their own. Nobody. I shame that on us. Now, Chris, I'm going to leave this here, but that really makes me touch on the point that you just talked about.
Yeah, like that's my whole issue.
He had nobody.
And he's 13. Like, he's 13. Can you, like, I know someone here has someone around that age, if not 13, and think about them being in that situation. Like, it's an impossible situation for a 13-year-old to be in. The magnitude of that. The kids that I teach are 7th graders. They're 13. So I had to bring it up to them. Like, they were curious. They saw it in the news. So, but 13. That's insane. Like, I just feel so bad for the kid. Like, he lost his life. It's just a terrible situation.
So that's still pending. We're going to see what's going to happen with the officer. Obviously, they put them on leave, put them on hold, this, that, and the third. BB Bean says, in the cases, whites blame criminal history or drugs in the system, even if fake, and not the action of the officer. Of course, there's always going to be this, that, and the third. Now, speaking of officer, now this case I wanted to talk to you about, Chris, because this is very, very interesting. We're going to go ahead and get into the sergeant and the black teen in North Carolina outside of his house. Chilling in the cul-de-sac, looking like Tyler. Keep in mind, a young man walking around looking like Tyler, the Creator, for me. If he was walking down a black street, he would have got beat up. Breaking, he got not guilty. Maybe that's what they're saying about the dude for Adam Toledo. will ask for an update.
Wow.
We'll see. We'll see. Update us on that. So, have you now? When I sent this to you, Chris, did you hear about the black teen and the sergeant, the army officer, or whatever he was, assaulting him and pushing him, and him saying that he smelled liquor on his breath as he pushed him? Did you hear about this before?
I hadn't. No, like it's crazy because there's so much going on in the world. I hadn't even heard about this one.
It's on CNN now. Interesting. I'm going to go ahead and pull. Let's see. I'm trying to find it. I'll pull it on Twitter. But hey, if you can post it in, then we'll look at it. But we're going to keep this pushing this way. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, Chris, and with everybody, because a lot of people may not have heard of this before. So it says right here, white Army sergeant charged with assault after shoving black man in a viral video. Staff Sergeant Jonathan Pentland faces maximum of a $500 fine and 30 days in jail for pushing this young black man. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the video, and give me 1 second. Let's see.
I'm trying to find
2042.
case.
Yeah, let me. Sorry, y'all. This is like the first time I've had like all of my little all of my tabs ready to go. Okay, I got it for us. I'm about to share my screen, you guys. All right. So this is about a white Army sergeant who literally charged at a young black man, and he got in trouble for it. And now he's getting a fine. People were showing up in front of his house, Chris. People were protesting. People had a lot of shit to say to him. So he was definitely getting all the backlash, which I feel like this man definitely deserved. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Here we go. This is the
video capturing tense moments in the Summit neighborhood in Northeast Columbia on Monday.
I'm going to move you.
42-year-old Jonathan Pentland seen standing on a sidewalk in front of a home, questioning the man for several minutes before eventually pushing him.
You better walk away. You walk away.
We're not going to let people be bullies in our community. And if you are, then you're going to answer for it.
Richland County Sheriff Leon Lott says Pentland was arrested early Wednesday and charged with assault and battery 3rd degree. Also confirming Pentland is actively serving in the U.S. Army and is stationed at Fort Jackson.
There's only one way out of here.
That's assault and battery when you place your hands on someone, and he did. The video showed that he did, and that's the evidence that we have that he was charged with.
Deputies say after the camera stops rolling, Pentland pushes the victim again and knocks his phone out of his hand after the victim started taking pictures of him.
So I'm going to stop here really quick, Chris, and explain to everybody. It was a black woman who was a neighbor of these people, and she took a video of him. And she took this video, okay? And it ended up interviewing her after this. But just to make a point.
All I heard was you fighting and her defending herself.
While deputies were on the scene Monday, officials say 2 other reports were made claiming the victim had an altercation with a young woman in the neighborhood.
There were some other things that occurred that really doesn't justify the actions of the suspect. And that goes into the victim. And again, I'm not going to identify the victim, and I'm just not going to do that. But there were some other issues that had occurred, but none of them justified the assault that occurred.
Sheriff Lott says the charge Pentland is facing is punishable by a $500 fine or 30 days in jail.
All right. So seeing that, he walking through his neighborhood. He lives 2 blocks over. He definitely looks like it if he knew anything about black people. Say he looked like damn tired of the damn creator. He's definitely serving me some bourbon. He had his little Vans on, his little basketball shorts. I swear, he looks like he belongs in this area, sir. Actually, let me stop playing. What do you think about this?
When I initially saw the video, I just thought the guy was a bully. Like he looks like a bully. Like just off like just the differences in sizes between the two. It's like, why are you doing this? And then what he's saying to him, like asking him questions like, where do you live? Like I have no obligation to tell you where I live at all.
And that's where he was at. And that's where he was at with it. And it says here, it's unclear from what recording that sparked the confrontation or what happened after. But Sade McCallum, who lives in the neighborhood, again, I told you it was a black woman, filmed the video in the Post and Courier, whoever that is, the article. The unidentified black man was approached by the woman who accused him of harassing her daughters, was prompted Pentland to come out of the house and talk to the black man. Richland County Sheriff Leon Lott said the press conference again, it was involved. The black man, 22, allegedly twice put his hand around a woman's waist and picked up a baby without consent, according to the Post and Courier. But Lott emphasized that doesn't justify assault. In the statement, the sheriff department said the black man had an underlying medical condition, which had explain his behavior. That's a lot to take in.
It really is. And here's my thing. Even if any of that was true, because I'm not sure if it's true or not, but like that wasn't what this gentleman, or that wasn't what this soldier like was even addressing at all. Like he's asking, why are you in the neighborhood? Why are you, like he's bullying him.
Yeah, he wasn't even caught up on the alleged reason to why this was even going on. Yeah, it wasn't because what you do with my daughter.
None of that. He's just, why are you in this neighborhood? You don't. It was like, you don't belong here.
Exactly. But we've heard so many times before. And then here, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if you were going to get into it, but the lady in the video said something interesting because, like, the gentleman that was being shoved said, just call the police. Like, just wait and call the police. And then the lady said, and I wrote it down here, wait a couple more minutes for the police. Let's see how that goes. Kind of implying, like, oh, yeah, if the police
something's going to happen. Or you going to get what's coming to you. Yeah.
And that was just kind of like sick to me. I'm like,
people want the blood of the black man or the blood of a black person on their lawn and on their country very bad, clearly. So yeah, that's definitely a point that she made. She was the one talking all that. He said he smelled the liquor on his breath. He was cutting up. Or we got comments from BB Bean. Jonathan Pentland would not treat a black man of similar size like that. Of course, if he was just a little bit taller, a little bit more of a build, he would not have gotten off that way. He also said that's how Trayvon Martin's altercation started. Yeah. Correct. The white vigilantes would want to start a fight and then claim defense, stand your ground. Of course, because he would be on his property and he could have his weapon. I'm surprised, to be honest, that he didn't have his weapon. But the man was saying he sounded like he had liquor on his breath. That's what the black man was saying. So maybe he was just a little lit. But yeah, that was just. But people have been protesting outside of their house all week. So
good. I mean, yeah, because that was just. That's unacceptable behavior. Like, again, why are you picking on this man? Like, what? Like, why? I don't know. Like, I'm just like kind of shocked by it. Like,
crazy.
In this day and age, you think that's okay? You think you weren't gonna get any backlash from that? Like, you're crazy if you think you weren't gonna get backlash from that.
Exactly. And they haven't even released like how any of this has came out, like how it really started. Like, they're saying underlying causes, but this is still a pending case. So I'll talk about it more in here, if more like comes up. But let's go ahead and get into Daunte Wright. So, Chris, we all know that Daunte Wright has been trending. This has been going on. Daunte Wright was a young black man who was a father as well, who got pulled over for a traffic violation. And it's also trending and saying, i.e. that it was air freshener. And he even reached out to his mother to call for his insurance, which I empathize with, of being a young driver or just being a young person who doesn't have your proper insurance, having to call your mom before. And that to me just screamed, no malice here. I'm calling my mama for the insurance. You know, he reached out to his mother for his insurance. And on top of that, something that I wanted to point out as well is he is a biracial Black man as well. You know, very much so, to the point that, you know, it does not matter. People want to say that it matters, your skin tone, this, that, and the third. They still seen this young Black man as a threat. Black is black. Black is black. Black.
We both know that Black is black. Like
Black is black. Hi, Tony. Hello. Black is black, and we know that. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, before I go ahead and get into the article, I'm obviously do a breakdown and talk about the timeline. But I just wanted to know your first thoughts on how you feel about the Daunte Wright case.
Couple things. Just like he has an air freshener in his car, I've had air fresheners in my, like, you know, the little black thing, little tree, you hang them.
Of course.
Most people, I don't want to say most people, but a lot of people have those. It's almost common. Yeah, that's not allowed in their state, but it like people have that and they get pulled over. That is like, man. And another thing, as a Black man, getting pulled over by the police, that's one thing you never want to happen. Like, you get so much anxiety, even driving, and you see the police, it changes your whole demeanor.
So let's stop here. Let's talk about it. Have you been pulled over by the police in a circumstance or anything that is worth mentioning to us that has made you feel away?
Absolutely. Like we went to NIU, we were in DeKalb. It's a college town, but it doesn't feel like a college town because there's such a heavy police presence. Now, maybe that is because of the shooting we talked about previously, or I really don't know, but there's so many police, and I've got pulled over out there. I want to say at least 4 or 5 towns, and that's DeKalb.
It's a lot of Black, but still, again, it's like obviously the percentage wise of it not being, obviously it's more white people than Black people, but still has a heavy city presence. Like, we had a lot of parties. People consider our school to be a party school. We had a lot of stuff going on, so still there, it was very a heavy presence of Chicago. It was a heavy presence of Black people, you know, but it wasn't just the college going Black people. You had your cousins up there, you had your uncles, your sisters, your brothers, which was fine because it was truly no threat to us, and we seen it as no different. Because why can't we have our friends and our family members or our people come up from the city to come support or come party when you could have a +1, you know, at the rec or the convo? But still, I feel like that's why. I feel like that's really like why. I just feel like they just thought it was a lot of color here, but a very specific color of the urban culture. We had the music. We had it was. That's what we had. We had a big rap presence. We had a cool school. So that's how I always saw it. Is that's why. But they know no difference of the everyday college student, or you got Ray and Bobo coming up trying to go to the party.
And another thing, like just a part of that, like just kind of piggyback off that, like again, she mentioned that I'm in a fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, Hollywood EG chapter. Yeah. But we had multiple parties, and I can't tell you how many they got shot down before they even got started, because that was just our experience. Like the white fraternities, and I mean that's just is what it is. Like it was
that's true. White frats would be able to party all night. If you were Black, you would have to go after or have to be really on a late night. Like it would never. You can never do that. No.
Shut down before we even get it like really started, and we're 19, 20, 21, 22. Like we're kids.
Nobody going. Yep, exactly.
Like what? We can't party. We can't have fun. And that's just a part of the experience. But yeah, I've gotten pulled over out there 4 or 5 times, and that's DeKalb and Sycamore. And I'm a young Black man. I drive a fairly nice car. And
they think it's something up. Exactly. Can't even do nothing for you. So, yep. Exactly.
So that's my experience with that.
Yeah, and that's like very interesting because like my dad like had like an older like Benz, and he would constantly get pulled over like for no reason, just driving for no reason, and it's always the same scary feeling that you feel. You know, it brings anxiety for everyone involved. So, you know, when Dante's mother was talking about, you know, the scariness of it definitely hit home. I was like, everyone can relate to that. Or, talking to someone and her just thinking she giving him the insurance for him to, cooperate. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this, and we're gonna kind of go through the timeline, you guys. I appreciate everybody being here. Hit the subscribe button if you have not already. If you're new here, welcome. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. Make sure you guys check out Chris here. Chris, go ahead, tell everybody your socials. I appreciate you. Tell them your socials while I pull this up, please.
Fit_Hollywood_6. Check me out, Solid 6 Fit, and definitely go ahead, like and subscribe to her channel. She's a constant professional. This has been like one of the best experiences I've had. Like this
makes me so happy. I'm so excited we're doing this, and you guys, and like Chris and I have been like talking about this for almost a week now. So I'm so excited to have him here. So make sure you guys definitely check out his socials. He's growing his YouTube channel as well. You guys know how I've been growing mine, so make sure you show him love for quality content. Definitely get your ass in shape. You already know.
Please do. Human Cocaine, the documentary, Chapter 3.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So make sure you guys, in the description, make sure you guys hit up Chris if you guys have any questions for all of your body needs.
Yes,
all right. Here's the timeline of the case so far. Sunday, April 11th, Potter, an officer she was training, pulled right over for an expired registration tag in his car. First thing that's interesting to me about this, Chris, is this a woman officer?
That's the first thing. Okay, yeah. Not for me.
A white woman officer. I haven't heard about a white woman officer yet. Have you heard about a white woman officer?
Maybe no, not recently. I can say
that was what stuck out. Not that it was a white person per se, but that was just interesting to me. Because I feel like that's why they're starting to pity and protect her a lot. Still, her treatment on it is still a little bit different. And the empathy of her making a simple woman's mistake. Oh, a silly woman's mistake. That's really how I've been viewing it. Anyway, the officers then determined the cop during the stop that Wright had an outstanding gross misdemeanor warrant. As the officers tried to take Wright to custody, the 20-year-old got back in his car, police said, and then announced that she would use a taser on Wright. Now, we seen him get back in the car, but it wasn't like it was a run. It wasn't a mad dash. It was a turnaround to sit down. And I felt like, to me, it was just a 20-year-old who didn't really know what to do and made the wrong decision. And I've heard from a lot of people saying, Black man 101, Black person 101, listen to the cops, don't run away, almost as if you asking for it, to be blunt. So what are your thoughts on it? I'll say my thoughts on it first because it's a loaded question. I feel like, yes, in a way, people can feel like, okay, you're asking for it if you're running away, or we're supposed to be taught those things. And, this was like a mishap. But for me in specific, like, okay, I don't agree. Like, we should have learned to not run away from cops, but I would never blame someone's death on themselves. I think that's wrong. But in his defense, it wasn't a mad dash for me. It was a turnaround. He kind of sat down. And if you just looked at context clues, him getting the insurance, they wasn't saying that it was anything really odd before to really think that he was a part of that life. Or doing something to really put them in a threat. So for me, that was the issue, even before we get to her pulling the wrong thing out. But anything that stood out to you?
The first thing that stood out to me, and this is about the officer, is she's the training officer. Like what? On
top of that, we didn't even get in. I didn't even mention that. Thank you. She's training someone also as well on duty, and she's been in this force for 21 years. I believe.
I think it was 26 years. I was talking to my sister about this. Yeah, she's 26 years.
Okay.
So that was interesting to me, and then the gentleman, like you said, like Daunte, like you said, this is about longevity. We want to be there for our families. We want to be there for our kids, our grandkids. We want to have all of that. So It's about longevity. So. And I'm not saying that this to justify anything, but man, if you want to make it home, and this is to everybody that's out there just watching, if you want to make it home, if you want to make it home to your family, you know how this world is, do what you got to do to get home. Now, I'll say that. I'll leave it at that. But just don't put yourself in a position where they can get down on you, because they absolutely will.
Mm-hmm. And BB Bean said Amber Geyer, the white Dallas cop who shot the black man who she thought was in her apartment. I remember that 100%. You remember that? When
No, it's just so much. Like I try to not take it all in because it's so much.
Yeah. So it was a case where like she was going into her apartment building and she walked into the wrong apartment.
Okay, into the wrong building. Yes.
You remember that? Yes, because that was like whether you wanted to like and then yes. So that's very much so true. And she was in the force. So yes, these things definitely happen. She pulled a Glock MM handgun from her right and pointed it at Wright, saying again that she would tase him. I will tase you. So I remember her saying, so she did her cop duty. We're going to acknowledge that, right? Chris, she said, taser, taser, taser. All right. She said, taser, taser. So she said she was calling for the taser. Potter said, shit, I just saw him. And we heard that. So when the police chief came out, he said, based upon her reaction, that he don't think that she did it on purpose. She said, taser, taser, taser. Shit, I shot him. I'm a woman. I did it. Oh, no, I'm a woman. I'm a woman cop. I've been here for 25 plus years. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Don't cry silly lady for me right now. If we gonna cry silly lady, this is not the time to cry silly lady damsel in distress. But that's what they did, and that was not fair.
Yeah.
That was not fair. That was because she was a woman. She's obviously white. All the cops have been in here. We've acknowledged the cops that are killing the black people are white. But now she's a white woman. And they was doing it completely different.
See, I have so many issues with what happened here.
Go ahead.
This is just one of the issues I have here. Again, I used to work at Verizon. Mm-hmm. Do you know that people would try to get me fired for something out of my control, that maybe because they didn't have, and this is something very simple. This is something that happened, but like if they didn't have their passwords to get their information back from maybe iCloud or Google, they'll try to get me fired.
It'd be your fault. And then you get called names. You get in trouble.
Yeah, over something that trivial. But a life is lost and then excuses are made.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing, like you're on the force for 26 years. You're on the force for 26 years and you're the one doing the training and something like this happens. I think that speaks to police training and their culture. And then the third thing, if you've ever felt the difference between a handgun and a taser, there's a difference. If you've held both, there's a weight difference.
Heavy.
There's a weight difference.
Heavy. The pool is different as well.
Yeah, like bright yellow, all black. Like it's just no.
Let me tell you, girls, you girls over here walk around with a taser, you feel like you're holding a heavy gun. I just want another girl walk around with a little taser or a little one. One of y'all walk around with one of them, or even a full size. You feel like y'all holding the gun on your keychain? No. Do guns go on keychains? No. Last time I didn't know. I'm just checking. Continuing on, Monday, April 12th, protests continued Monday night, spreading to Brooklyn Center, Minneapolis to Portland to New York. A curfew was imposed in Brooklyn Center. Now, can you imagine being on a true curfew due to crime? I mean, I know we have the C-19, but a crime, and before we get into that, BB Bean said the chief of police called it an accident, making her not look guilty. He quit his job too. Yes, we do know that. And I'm going to go ahead while you talk to me about that. So how do you feel about that, Chris?
It all looks guilty. Like she quit her job, he quit his job. They know this is like, how can you not know this is wrong? Like they know this is wrong. They know what's going to come with this, like, or what should come with this, because who knows what's really going to come with this.
Exactly.
Going.
So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and pull this officer. So this wonderful officer, he definitely did a nice breakdown. I appreciated him. He did this little breakdown on TikTok. The police officer's powerful TikTok message on Daunte Wright goes viral. So this was in favor of Daunte Wright. They have this officer here, U.S. police officer, demonstrated the huge difference. So if y'all just don't want an everyday person like me or Chris, if y'all want an officer to show y'all how the difference between a gun and a taser went viral on TikTok, describing how difficult it is to confuse the two items, okay? And posted the account. They got 1.4 million, and it was taken down after it became viral. But let's see.
Dominant, not so dominant. Huge weight difference, guys. I don't understand how we can mistake a taser for a gun or a gun for a taser. If you're in the heat of the moment and you do something like
I'm gonna
that,
take that. I'm gonna take that back. Taser, gun. Okay.
And even look how both are like switch. Like yeah, the handles are switched.
I'm so dominant.
Different.
Huge weight difference, guys. I don't understand how we can mistake a taser for a gun or a gun for a taser. If you're in the heat of the moment and you do something like that, you shouldn't be doing this job. Because nobody likes a bad cop more than a good cop. I can tell you that straight up. I'm not going to put my life on the line to try and, fix your stupidity and deal with, restoring the peace with my public that I serve just because of your stupid actions. It makes no sense. 99% of our job is communication. You don't got to be quick to pull out a gun or a taser on somebody and think everybody's a threat. Not everybody's a threat. Try talking to them. Get to know them people.
All right.
And
So I just thought that was interesting.
one thing I really love what he said is 99% of the job being communication. Like, you know how many of these instances can be avoided if more people have that outlook?
Just to talk and see what's going on. But God forbid that your job is to protect the public. So in any means, I'm thinking somebody should try and get you first for real before you even buzz back for real. Honestly, if this is to protect and serve, this is and people at war got more balls than these people who are supposed to really be out here protecting the community and really getting up in people's houses. Honestly, I don't know. What do I know? But
Yeah, it's those me for a loop.
So
I really like how he broke that down. Like, I really appreciate that because.
And I appreciated that. And don't make me look bad over your stupidity. Like, at the end of the day, they still got to be out here. It is uses. I'm not going to be silly and say that it's not uses for cops. It is. And I do get it. I understand. Black people who are cops in their lives as well. I'm not going to dismiss the black men and women who, dedicate their lives to the force as well, whether it's firefighters, police officers, EMTs, this, that, and the third. Black people are definitely in these fields as well. It sucks. It sucks. It's an oxymoron. Go ahead.
I think because it's like you said, we absolutely need them because there's never going to be a point where human society doesn't need that type of.
You're going to be forced to, even if you don't want to. You're going to have to deal with the law or the police at some facet of something. Whether somebody going to make you, if it's not your choice, or whether you have to.
Because people commit crimes and they're not going to just stop committing crimes. It's just not going to happen. But the training of police officers, the training of law enforcement has to change. Yeah. And just the standards of being a police officer have to change. Now, I'll kind of leave it at that because I like to go into stories. But the training and just the qualifications have to change. Yeah. And it's like, even with, I will say one more thing too. I'm sorry, but like, just how like there's cultures with everything. How like, and I'll just break it down like this. How my chapter, we're Phi Beta Sigma, but we're the Hollywood EG Epsilon Gamma chapter. We have our own culture. Mm-hmm. We're all under one scope of Phi Beta Sigma, but we have our own culture.
What's unique to you? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it sounds like the cop that did the TikTok video, it sounds like he came from a really good department that they do good training, they do good work. It sounds like the Minnesota, where did this instance happen again? Either way.
Minneapolis.
Yeah, Minneapolis. It doesn't sound like
not far blocks from George Floyd, not far.
Yeah, they don't come from a good police culture. It sounds like it doesn't sound like they have really good training. It sounds like they fear black people. From what he just told me, even like with what he said, it's the differences is a magnitude of differences, honestly. So exactly. That's what I want to put in there in my input with that.
Yeah, no, of course. What's up, Big Low Country Sports? Hello. We appreciate you being here. Make sure y'all hitting that thumbs up button. Now, Chris, the Minneapolis police spent over $9,000 to protect the home of the former officer who shot Daunte Wright. I'm going to go ahead and pull this article, because Carolyn already brought this up to us, and I had the article, and it was so interesting because she was able to see it. But look at this. Look at these barricades. It's the barricades for me. Can y'all see that? So this is her house. She's quit though. And the city of Champlin, Minnesota spent more than $9,000 to erect a security perimeter protecting of Kim Porter, the former police officer. So that's somebody's salary, okay? That's people month's salary, all right? 2 months salary. What's happening? Photo spread to Twitter to show the cement barricades fencing officers stationed outside Porter's suburban Twin Cities home. She faces manslaughter charges and writes deaf. City spokeswoman Ashley Wagner told Axios that the city will seek reimbursement for the $9,236 in physical security costs should source become available. So they're saying she might be reimbursed. The estimate for the police staffing costs were not available yet. She added what they're saying. Wagner said the security is needed to protect against the fire in a residential neighborhood if anyone decided to carry through these threats, and also provide officers with a protected place in a violent crowd, noting protests in the Brooklyn Center. Between the lines, prosecutors have increasingly targeted homes of local positions in the law enforcement. An August demonstration outside the home of former Minneapolis Police Union head Rob Kroll's Hugo home generated headlines after backlash of an activist turned lawmaker referenced burning down the neighborhood. So that's where they're getting this from. Hennepin County attorney Mike Freeman sold his house and moved due to security threats over charges against involved in George Floyd. And on Saturday, Santa Rosa Police Department reported vandalism at the former house of Barry Broad, the former officer use of force who testified in defense of the Derek Chauvin trial. So they're basically saying that there was a lot going on. So they're justifying all these cases happened. So that's why they need to protect this white woman. So how do you feel about this?
I feel as if, like you touched on it earlier, because she's like a white woman, because you don't see this too often in the media. They're definitely.
They did it. Excuse me, real quick. They did it to the woman that BB Bean was talking about, whatever her name is. Oh, she's confused. She got off work. She's a stupid woman. She walked into the wrong house and she didn't know what floor she was on. Oh my God, because she's a lady, she can't do that. Let you walk in somebody's wrong fucking house.
I'll be another name on the news.
So exactly, but that's what I'm saying. They did the same thing to her as well. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, she's protected. She's protected, and I'm not going to say that she probably doesn't need that protection, but the fact that it sounds like they're going to fund it, that's interesting. And then the fact that she made bail so quickly, like, I mean, I'm curious as to what the bail was. That's what I really want to know. Because when I was reading the story, I really wanted to know what the bail was for her to make that so quickly, and maybe how she even got the funds to do that so quickly. Because
they felt for her, and I'm sure the chief genuinely believes, but he put his foot in his mouth. He genuinely believed that it was a mistake. If this is what's being taught to an officer who's teaching other people, then God help us.
That's what really, like, and that's why I go back to the culture.
If she didn't really know for real, as y'all are saying, then God help us, because that is a malfunction and a malpractice.
And that's what's really my problem, because you go back to the culture of the police department, you go back to the training that's being done. This is the individual that's training. Mm-hmm. Like, that's scary. That's scary, because what it shows me is you fear black men. Exactly. And I'm a black man. I'm bigger than him. I'm darker than him. And that all matters. Like, when I walk around, I see the looks I get. Like,
that's what we're gonna talk about. So we're gonna go ahead and go into our final topic. So y'all, that's gonna be our topics for the night. It's been a lot to take in. I appreciate everybody being here. Make sure you guys are looking in the description, giving Chris a follow on his socials, as well as hitting that subscribe button and that thumbs up. We appreciate everybody being here. So I want to ask these questions before we go ahead and get into the police. The bigger question that we're going to end with is the police fearing black men. Should she pay for her mistake? Are the police able to make mistakes in circumstances like this? And to piggyback off that, my opinion on that is it's no room really for people if it was an honest mistake. It's no room for those anymore, because too many people, her forefathers, have made too many mistakes before her. So even for people to have empathy, or for a cop to make a true mistake, it will never, ever be accepted. And that's just looking at it with the light lens to be understanding. It would be no difference. It was out of fear.
Yeah.
It's out of fear to me, and I feel like I have the wool over my eyes, or I'm jaded because of other things. So how can I be the person to understand? It said Potter posted $100,000 bond. Thank you, BBB.
Wow.
Go ahead, Chris.
Wow, I'm just kind of shocked by that. Wow. But to kind of piggyback on what you said, I wanted to touch on this with the Toledo case.
Mm-hmm.
Fact that this has happened so much, that's the issue. That's why there's no leeway for these mistakes. Mm-hmm. And it's not, and again, like I talked about it earlier, like I've tried, like people have tried to get me fired for phones, like things that I can't even control sometimes on phones. But we're talking about lives that are lost. There's no room for mistakes with that. There's no room for error with that. There has to be some accountability.
And the error that from the taser to the gun.
Where's
like
the accountability?
Restraining, the irony of it. It's like God himself came down and put that caveat to make it even worse. Like, you just can't be a stupid woman. I guess you're just a qualified woman to be teaching other people. But yes, so the barricades are that. I guess she's going to need them. But to be fair, they put barricades in front of a lot of people's houses and all those things for those things. But it's interesting for them to keep giving her that cheddar cheese. She'll never be a cop again. She'll never do anything of that nature. But it was just interesting, again, that was what they spent the $10,000 on.
$100,000 bond. That's
$100,000, and that's her salary at most. If she's at a higher up in her most. So yeah, that's definitely a little bit too much to chew right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into our last but not least. Something that's been on my mind is something that I bring up. The bigger question to me is: does the police fear Black people in itself? Obviously, I feel that they fear Black men, but some people like to believe that they're fearless. But in certain circumstances, I think I want to differentiate the everyday citizen and the police force. So I believe it still is a difference between people who are here to serve us, who I feel like should give up their lives a lot bit more, in my opinion, than the everyday person. I may be a little bit more forgiving to an everyday person trying to protect themselves than a police officer when it's 80 different things that they teach them. And watching the Floyd trial, I know it's a plethora of things that these people learn to protect themselves, because death is the ultimate last resort. I've seen cops, I've seen cops, I've seen people, busted crackheads, heroin heads, drug addicts, runaways, this and the third, get treated with respect, get water, dignity, air-conditioned car ride to the jail cell in a proper case and fair trial for all the least of these people doing. So with that being said, I've seen people get pulled over and get forgiven and able to go through other things for a air conditioner. For a air freshener. I've seen people be able to get off with bad insurance, and people who don't even have insurance and not have to get pulled out of their car. The young man didn't even look like a bum. He had on his jean top, his little jeans, whatever, his Jordan. He didn't look like he was in any mess. He had a decent car. He's probably paying a car note on his car. And he was a young teen father. We see somebody, 13-year-old, get killed. He's not even Black per se, but he's a brown person, a 13-year-old. So it's just the fear in being brown to me. So that's what I'm going to end with for my spiel, Chris. But you can go ahead and give us yours.
Well, to kind of wrap everything up, I just think that this country has to really look and evaluate a couple of things. The socioeconomic issues that we have, first of all, because at this point it's larger than race. It's not about Black, white, and brown. It's about the socioeconomic issues, because that is failing us. Because the fact that there are so many communities that are underprivileged, schools do not have funding. There's not things for kids to do like rec centers and like arts. So like drama, acting, photography.
All those cliche things, the boys and girls, all those things that people find cliche, to doing after school sports, that's really what keeps you out of these things.
Yes. That's positivity. That gives you something to do. That keeps you out of trouble. We don't have that, but there's still just constant funding being poured into police departments, and the training that's being done for these officers, it has to change, because this is just absolutely ridiculous. Because, and I don't remember the name of the book right now, but I did some research years before, and there was an officer that came out. I want to say he was on the LA Police Department, but he actually wrote a book about his experience. They taught the officers to fear black men, to like basically look to kill black men. So the training of these officers, the criteria for officers, just countrywide, it has to change, because the anxiety I get from police officers is through the roof. Whether it be when I see them just passing, I'm like, man, I hope it's not one of those days. Or if I'm driving, especially, I really hope it's not one of those days.
Exactly. And on that point, I'm going to pull up this clip from our final thoughts. Chris Cuomo, his brother is the governor of New York, like it or not. Cuomo, however you say it, long-time CNN anchor, I can barely talk now, says that police reform won't happen until white kids are starting to get killed. You'll see a wave of change and access and accountability we saw in the 60s when it changes, because when it's you. So I'm going to go ahead and share this, and I would like to talk about our thoughts.
Adam, you know he was a gangbanger.
Here we go.
What? George Floyd, Daunte Wright. I wonder if you'll remember their names 6 months from today, because they'll be replaced by so many others. You're here, people. What are you going to do when you see these shootings? You know what you're going to do. That George Floyd. Did you hear about him? That Daunte Wright. Did you hear about him? That 13-year-old Adam. You know he was a gangbanger. Why do that? Because you want to make the problem them. Takes the onus off the idea that you're wrong about policing not needing to change. Forget that police are trained to deal with non-compliance with force that is not lethal. Hey, comply or die. You know what I mean? And you know what the answer is? You really do. You don't like it. I don't like it. It scares me. Shootings, gun laws, access to weapons. Oh, I know when they'll change. Your kids start getting killed. White people's kids start getting killed. Smoking that doobie that's actually legal probably in your state now, but they don't know what it was, and then the kid runs and it pop, 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 pop. Cop was justified. Why'd you run? Oh, he had a baseball game tonight. Oh, a white kid. Oh, big family. That house over there. Those start piling up. What is going on with these police? Oh, what? Maybe we shouldn't even have police. That kind of mania, that kind of madness, that'll be you. That'll be the majority, because it's your people. See? Now,
man, that was powerful. That really summed up every single thing we talked about. It's correct. It's not supposed to say it's out loud on this show. Exactly. Yeah. So I appreciate him saying that. That was wild, but he said, run into the baseball game. Well, what's going on? We shouldn't have them anymore. We need to have neighborhood vigilantes. Eye for an eye.
I'll quote Nipsey Hussle. You just accept if we murdered your children. He has it in one of his songs. And it's as simple as that. Like, would you just accept if we murdered your children? And they wouldn't. Like, they wouldn't. There's no reason that traffic stops should end in death. Like, there's no reason that all this profiling should be happening. There's no reason, like, so many of these instances should end in death. Like,
exactly.
Maybe because we see it so much, maybe because we've been desensitized to it, but it's death. Like, people are losing their lives. Like, family members are losing their lives. There's trauma everywhere. On top of everything else we have to deal with, the COVID thing, the mask, that we're still dealing with this.
Oh my goodness, this was quite the conversation tonight. We unpacked a lot of things. And I just want to say that I think that years ago, I wouldn't even be able to versely talk about these topics or eloquently feel confident, about talking about these topics, in this setting, because even growing up in the suburbs and where I went to school, like I went to school with Black people, it was a handful of us, but we never talked about things or got to embrace our culture as openly as everyone else. So I feel like now, it's my duty to like talk about these things, whether people like it or not. And like I've gotten backlash from talking about small things on my channel, but I appreciate you coming on and, facing this, force with me and us having, a bunch of people on here, ready to talk about this topic, these topics and, bringing awareness and really, talking about the fact that does feel like sometimes a Black man, and being a Black man feels like you're going, against the whole society almost, and, those things against you, but you still push forward. And especially with what you're doing, you have to definitely get your flowers while you're here for teaching kids and helping and being an educator and, making your body a priority and all these things, creating longevity in the Black community as well. It's hard for Black men to stay healthy. We die at a faster rate as Black people, disease, cancer, all those things. So it's very important for us to stay healthy, especially now and still being our age while we're here. So, those things I want to say, don't go unnoticed. And that was a real reason why I would love to have you on, and I'm excited that you are on here. So I want to just say thank you again, Chris, and you can just, anything else you want to say, any closing thoughts, and then we'll have you close out with your socials and we'll get out of here.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for having me on. It was really a pleasure. Like, you are a constant professional. Like, you gave me updates like all week and then all the so she made this process smooth, and I was like, the topics we talked about were heavy, but the fact that we got to work with each other was awesome, because I've known China for 7 years now.
It's been forever. We've been out of school for how many now? Yes, for real.
It's just everything kind of like
full circle.
So that was awesome.
Yes.
What I want to close out with is, like she said, the way I'm trying to impact the world is promoting two things: love and knowledge. Knowledge is key. So, love, knowledge, and fitness, I guess, fitness and health. But that's how I want to change the world. First, with my fitness and my health. Like, I get myself right to help get everybody else right. I created a class to do that. Like, on my socials, Fit Hollywood 6, that's my Instagram. Check the link tree. That's all there. I'm doing human cocaine. I want to inspire people. I want to spread love. In my documentary, you're gonna.
What is the human cocaine? Explain to us, what is the human cocaine?
So with my Instagram page, I had a multitude of content, just like a lot of videos. And I started off with just doing little hashtags. One of the hashtags was the documentary. And I realized, I have a lot of videos. I could actually do a documentary. And then when I took it serious, human cocaine. Because if you know me, China,
the energy.
The energy. So the
energy.
And then it's like, when you look at cocaine, it's kind of for everybody, where it'd be crack cocaine, just the other cocaine. Everybody kind of does it in their own way.
Everybody got their pick your poison.
Yeah, and I feel like I blend. I can talk to anybody. I love people. I'm a humanitarian for real.
All right, this is your handle right here. Everybody, make sure you guys give that a follow.
So I'm trying to promote some love, inspiration, inspire people, and knowledge. Like, educate yourself. Like, read. Please read every day, 15, 20 minutes. Read, educate. But
what are we reading? Because I struggle. I got a Mariah Carey book over here. I've been struggling to read.
Honestly, this is crazy. This is one of the things I talk to my students about. Obviously it matters what you read to a certain extent.
Black people like to be entertained. It's a lot of other things to entertain us. We got entertaining lives, so it's hard.
But really read what you're into. Like, there it is.
Go ahead. Make sure you guys give them a follow.
Yes, please. But just read. Read what interests you. If you want to learn about cryptocurrency, read about it. If you want to hear about fiction, read about it. If you want to read an autobiography, read about it. A book that changed my life is the autobiography of Malcolm X. Shout out to Miss Coleman from Lane Tech High School. She changed my life forever when she had me read that book.
I love that. This is the sweetest. Okay, we won't sit here and stalk you. Nice kick. This is the kitchen for me.
Yeah.
This is the kitchen for me. Okay, I have to embarrass you, play a little bit.
I think back to being on a football team, and 6 a.m. workouts.
Make sure y'all follow Chris.
Everybody didn't show up.
But there was check it out. Hey, I also debuted my first song in there. Yes, I'm doing the music now.
First song in here, link in bio. Make sure y'all follow him. Fit_Hollywood6 with the IX. Make sure y'all follow him, y'all, and check out his YouTube as well. See what he got going. I'm excited for this, Chris. This is nothing but the beginning.
Exactly.
This is nothing but the beginning.
We're on this journey together. Like, we're both growing our brands. We're both putting out quality content. Again, it's just amazing to work with you. Love, knowledge. That's the 3 things I'm trying to promote.
Period. And my favorite, the human cooking. All right. Woo. I love that. Okay, y'all. So make sure you guys definitely check out everyone's socials. Make sure you support. And Chris, I appreciate you being here. This conversation has been great. I'm excited to have you on again. We did almost 2 hours here. I know you got to get with the kids. You got to be there for them tomorrow. So we got to let you wind down. But everybody, make sure you guys show Chris some love, show this video some love. And Chris, go ahead and give a final goodbye and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all. Again, I'm a humanitarian, so I love all of y'all. Again, love, read, and get to it. Work out. 15.
Love, read, get to it. Give Chris a follow right here, you guys. And I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye. All right. I'm going to close.